How's it going, dudes? Today's video is going to be a bit different from the videos I normally produce because today we're talking about books. Now, I used to be that guy you would never catch with a book in my hand unless I was studying for a final exam or doing a project. Like, books didn't exist to me. That was until I came across the wonderful world of audiobooks. Audiobooks were a game changer. The fact that I was able to go about my normal day, eating my breakfast, washing the dishes, driving to work, and then by the end of the week having gone through 1 or 2 books blew my mind. What also blew my mind was what I've been missing out on and how valuable books are. It's crazy. Whoever thought the books were good? Yeah, I'm sorry to like every teacher, my parents, my grandparents, and everyone else who has told me to read. I really like reading now. Those audiobooks kind of opened me back up to the idea that, hey, maybe I should grab an actual book and sit down, leave my phone alone, and just spend some time each day reading, which I have been doing for the past couple months, and I can tell you that it's made a huge difference in like my happiness and just how I go on about my day. I think reading is an amazing thing. And with that being said, that is why I want to share with you guys 3 books that I have read over the past couple months that I have thoroughly enjoyed. I've gotten a lot out of. I implement them into my life like every day, and I want to share them with you guys. So here they are. The Dip is a fairly short read, it's pretty simple, and it's by Seth Godin, who I think is an amazing author. What really intrigued me about The Dip and why I think I found it so interesting is that it kind of goes against the grain of everything you hear today. It's all about quitting and when you should quit. So often we hear, don't quit, never give up, always keep pursuing what you're doing. But Seth does a really good job of explaining why that fails and how you should quit like a winner, how to quit being smart. The whole premise of The Dip is that when you first start something, you see results. It's fun, it's enjoyable, you love doing it. For example, when you first start playing the guitar. You pick up the guitar and it's fun, you're learning how to strum the basic chords. It's pretty good. But then, in every meaningful activity, you hit the dip. The dip is that point in every activity when you get over the basics of what you're doing and now you suddenly realize there's a lot of work that you have to put in if you want it to be something meaningful. With the guitar example, if you ever want to be really good at playing guitar, you're gonna have to put in a lot of practice and you're gonna suck for quite a while. And this is why everything meaningful has the dip, because this is where a lot of people fall off, creating that scarcity. A lot of people enjoy fiddling around on a guitar for a couple weeks, but when it comes down to it, they've actually got to put in time to practice to get good, they fall off, they stop doing it. The whole point of Seth's book is that if you know you're not going to try and get good and be the best and master something, then you shouldn't try it at all. You shouldn't go out and buy a guitar so you can play for a couple weeks and then when it gets hard, quit. However, if you know that you're going to really put in the work and try to get good, then you should go and pursue that. It's all about opportunity costs. Everyone has a limited amount of time, money, and energy, so you have to be efficient with that. Seth also goes on to say that when you're in the dip, there is a time to quit, and that is called a cul-de-sac or a dead end. Essentially, you're in the dip, you're putting in the work, you're not seeing much return, but you've been doing that for quite a while. You've put in your time, but you haven't seen any return. That's a cul-de-sac. And it's better to get out than to waste your life just toiling around in that. But when you see true success is when you enter that dip and you persevere and power through it, and then you start seeing results slowly and gradually. You climb that graph and you make it out of the dip. There's a couple more major ideas in that book that I really enjoy, but obviously I can't just sit here and talk about that book all day. You're gonna have to read it yourself. I highly recommend it. The next book is actually one of the first audiobooks that I listened to, and it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I wasn't going to originally listen to this because honestly I thought it sounded kind of shallow. How to win friends and influence people. I don't know if I like the sound of that. But it was highly recommended by quite a few people. It had some amazing reviews, so I thought, you know what, I'll give it a shot. This book is a bit more theory and example heavy, less so laying things out that you can actually follow, but it probably crosses my mind a couple times a day, and I read this a couple months ago, so it has seriously had a huge impact on how I deal with people in general, in everyday life, and my business. So I went through this book thinking that it was going to be shallow, and it was far from it. The entire premise of the book is essentially stop thinking so much about yourself and start thinking more about others. And it twists that in a kind of way saying that by thinking about others, you're actually going to see better results for yourself. I could go on and on with different examples and theories, but this is one that really stuck out to me. At the beginning of the book, Dale gives a really insightful example talking about how he loves fishing. And obviously, the goal when you're fishing is to catch fish. He also says that his favorite food is ice cream. Now, when you go fishing, you don't put your favorite food on the hook. He's not going to put ice cream on his hook to catch the fish. He's going to put the fish's favorite food on the hook so he can catch the fish. And that example applies so much to life because everyone views the world with them at the center. It's just human nature. But if you can take a second and remove yourself from the center of everything and take into account what someone else cares for and what someone else wants, you will find success in that. For example, applying it to my own life, I run a video production business, and obviously my number one goal running that business is to get more business, to get more clients, to get clients that I can make videos for. Now, if I were to walk up to a client and say, hey, I want more clients, buy a video from me, that's not gonna be too effective. That's like putting ice cream on a hook to catch fish. However, if I were to remove myself from the center of everything and put the client at the center of it and realize they run a business too, their number one goal is to drive more business. So how about I approach that situation like, hey, I know that you want to drive more business to your company. How about I make you guys a video, and that video will help you get business? I'm sure when I lay it out like that, it sounds basic, but there are seriously hundreds of little things like that within this book that really help change your mindset to kind of remove yourself from the center of the universe and really take into account what other people want and feel. Like I said, this book runs through my head all the time. I think it's super valuable. You got to give it a read. The final book I'm going to leave you guys with is The 12 Rules for Life by Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. Now, when I say that name, I hope you don't get triggered. There are a lot of people on the internet who really dislike Jordan for the views that he holds, but even if that's you, I highly recommend you still give the book a read. It can stand on its own, and I think it's super insightful. For those who don't know Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, he is a clinical psychologist who has written multiple theses. He's seriously a brilliant dude. He actually started capturing his lectures with a camera and then putting them on YouTube, and that's kind of how he got his claim to fame, and now he's a worldwide speaker. I actually saw him speak in Vancouver a couple months ago. Yeah, he's an author, he does a lot of stuff, but he is very, very smart. I really enjoy the work he does. Being a psychologist, he tackles a myriad of different political and life issues from the perspective of a psychologist, and I think he has some really insightful stuff to say. So his book, 12 Rules for Life, is a book with 12 chapters, each one deep diving into a different rule for life. I think it's pretty cool. You can take all of these rules at face value just for what they are, and you can probably see that they're good ideas, good rules to follow. But like I said, Jordan does an amazing job at deep diving into each one of these and kind of explaining the cascading effects that they have on your life and the life of those around you. I'm not gonna lie, it is a bit of a heavy read, and some of the stuff went in one ear and out the other. So I did a lot of rereading or re-listening when I was listening to it on an audiobook, but regardless, you still gotta give it a shot. I'm gonna do my best to tackle one of the rules, and that is the first rule called stand up straight with your shoulders back. Now, like I said, on the surface, that's pretty good. I'm sure your mom has told you that when you were growing up. Now, Jordan Peterson made this into rule number 1, and he really dives into why this has such a profound impact on your life. He starts it off by relating humans to lobsters and some of the scientific studies they've done. When two lobsters fight, whether it be over food, shelter, or a mate, the winning lobster puffs up, it becomes bigger, and its serotonin levels in its brain increase. On the same note, the lobster that lost gets smaller and hunches over, and its serotonin levels decrease. The increase in serotonin levels makes it statistically more likely that the lobster that won that fight is going to win its next. And on the same note, the decrease in serotonin levels makes it statistically more likely that the lobster that lost that fight is going to lose the next. This puts the losing lobster into a negative feedback loop, which becomes very hard to escape. You lose one fight, you go on to your next, you lose that, you're feeling even worse and more down on yourself, you lose the next, the next, the next. It becomes significantly harder to win that fight till you hit rock bottom. And by nature, this process creates a hierarchy of the lowest lobsters to the highest. And Jordan argues that humans have this exact same thing hardwired into us. If we perceive that we have a high place in the dominance hierarchy, we feel better about ourselves. We feel happier and more confident. And if we perceive we have a lower place in the dominance hierarchy, we feel worse about ourselves. We feel sad and anxious. Again, when you feel sad and anxious and not confident, the people around you notice that, you notice that, and you put yourself into a negative feedback loop, which is very hard to escape. But this is where Jordan Peterson's rule comes in. Studies have found that if you force yourself, you act out positive emotions like standing up tall, shoulders back, smiling, you can improve your mood. By standing up straight with your shoulders back, you're going to feel better about yourself, the people around you are going to notice that, and you're going to place yourself at a higher point in that dominance hierarchy. You're gonna be that winning lobster. Anyways, dudes, thank you so much for watching. I know this video was a bit different than the videos I normally produce, but these books have really helped me, and I'm sure that you will enjoy them as well. Thanks for watching, dudes, and I'll see you in another one.